There's a future here for those who dare.
So I think I was one of the first people to see the Syril and Dedra connection in season 1 and think, wow, they would be a match made in hell. And I love how much we get to see them in season 2 and see this dynamic. And I would love to know for like both of you, what has it been like getting to explore that relationship beyond what we see in season 1?
Oh my, it's been, I mean, the thing is, it's the exploration happens first on the, like, Tony and the writers seem to explore it and then they hand it to us. I don't know if I sat in the room with them, if they would be able to tell me exactly what they were hoping would come out of their writing. But you have to do very little, actually, except for what's on the page. And thankfully, Kyle and I have a lot of fun working together. So we're prepared to maybe, I think you want to sort of out-weird each other together, though. Never like competitively. It's just like, how weird can we make them? Yeah. And then he'll do some weird thing with his eyeballs and his mouth. And it's like, oh God, yeah. Yeah, that scene this morning that we watched, I was like, what were we doing? There was so much silence and then just a variation of tiny twitches on our faces.
It felt really freeing because Tony had always given so much freedom and responsibility to the actors to hold their through lines throughout these seasons with different directors coming in, and never being too prescriptive at the same time. Sure. And I remember talking with Ari, or I don't think we talked with Yanis about it, but talking with Ari because he was dealing with some of the relationship
we had most stuff with him, didn't we?
Yeah, he was just as curious as we were and just as playful. So it was really just...
his notes, I've got to say, actually,
his
Ari...
notes were amazing.
Because Ari was so playful and mischievous. There were notes, like, around the dinner party. He'd come up, it was like he'd watch a take and he'd be giggling to himself, and then he'd come up and whisper to me, why don't you just say it as if you're torturing her, you know, like in season 1? Just do it like you're torturing her. I was like, that's brilliant. So you'd do a take like that, and each person would have, not in that kind of, it's not to detach each other from each other, but playful, you know, what if you did it like this? And before you know it, it was just a free-for-all of fun that day. It was so good. So yeah, the director, particularly Ari, because he did a lot of the relationship setup. Like, he was the one with when she's trying on outfits and then she's like practicing her smile. Yeah, I was really pleased with that.
There's so many great moments in those first 2 episodes where we see them interacting in the season. And I'm curious, you know, what's that scene you mentioned with his mother, truly mother-in-law from hell as well. There's so much going on in that scene. And I love that scene so much because it not only establishes like how Dedra is like, I am the boss here. It also informs her relationship with Syril. And I'm curious for you, like, Denise, what would you say, you know, about that scene really helps to establish things with their dynamic? Because as you mentioned, a lot of it happens off screen and you build there in that moment, I think.
I mean, for one thing, working with someone like Catherine Hunter on that scene made it a lot more complex than it could have been with someone of lesser skill, because what working with Catherine showed me was that it was a negotiation, not an intimidation. So Kyle rightly pointed out just now about it's like confronting a bully. Like, Dedra stands up to Edie, and so Edie is like, oh, okay. So it became like when Syril comes back in, they've been talking for a couple of minutes. She's pouring her coffee, you know, a caf. And I'm thinking, oh, they did the negotiation and then maybe talked a little bit more about when Dedra moved to Coruscant, or it's like, wow, it's brilliant, because also I don't want this woman around. She's really bright and she's orange colored clothes and touching a lot, and there's a mess in the kitchen.
Everything here is white.
Yeah, everything is white and like sterilized all the time by the little machines, and yeah, I don't want Edie around. And I'm doing him a favor. I think Dedra also thinks everything she's doing is like, this is good for Syril. He also doesn't want to be talking to her all the time. So I imagine when she leaves, Dedra says, okay, well, now you speak to her twice a month and it's fine.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
I ultimately
Great.
saw it as an act of love,
Yeah.
actually, because
Thank you.
it's a ball and chain around Syril's neck and has been for his entire life.
Yeah.
And even though there's power involved in it, and you are, in a way, dividing up the pieces of territory of Syril between you and Edie, like, it is an act of love and saying,
Freeing him
yeah,
from
I'm
that.
freeing you from that, and you can manage it in this way.
And if what happened on Gorman, if I wasn't made to work for Krennic and do the Gorman thing, they probably would have coexisted pretty fine. But the problem happens is when I'm given a mission by the Empire, then it doesn't matter that I have a boyfriend or whatever. I have to go to any lengths for the Empire. So unfortunately, I have to manipulate and control him and do that. But I think from those first 3 episodes, you could sort of think, okay, they're weird. I don't know what they do with each other. But they also get each other.
Yeah.
In another parallel story, they're just living together and maybe they get a weird cat. You know? Like one of those hairless
The hairless.
cats, but
really
a
big.
robot, but massive.
Love
The
that.
size of a horse.
I think in my notes when I was watching it, I was like, they match each other's freaks so perfully.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Really made for each
Exactly.
other.
And you can't
Yeah.
quite tell who's like, you know,
Who's more
who's
freaky.
in charge and who's freaky,
Yeah.
because when she says turn out the lights, it's like a 3-beat thing. So turn out the lights. I can't believe you had me followed. Turn out the lights. But in that triangle, so much happens.
Yeah.
So initially it's like she's going, turn out the lights. I can't believe you had me followed. But the way that Kyle does it is sort of a weird turn on. And then she, oh God, yeah.
Slaps
We talked a
him
lot
down.
about what happened in the dark, and it wasn't good for
It
anyone.
wasn't good for anyone.
Love that. I also want to highlight Kyle. I love the I guess fetal position that he's in on the bed in there when he's just beautiful.
Broke him.
How did you get to that point? Was that in the direction, or did it come to you as this is just so
He did
Syril?
it. He just did it.
Years of practice.
Wasn't in the script.
It's just, we've all been there, haven't we? I remember Ari saying, as we'd done the scene, and then he's like, yeah, so I thought maybe you'd come in here and I don't know, what do you want to do? I was like, well, this is what I would do. And he was like,
I
that's
didn't
great.
see it. I didn't know that happened until I watched it. And I thought, because I knew something had gone on, because Ari was so happy with what had happened in that room. And then I watched it and I was like, oh my God, it's absolutely genius. Because your face. Oh.
But I think as well, because it's, in a way, Syril has a buffer in Dedra, but he wants this to go so well, and it's not, that he is being selfish in that moment by leaving.
Yeah.
And sulking. But I think that's who Syril is, He grew up alone with this woman who is so incredibly dominating and overbearing and controlling and toxic that he would just lie on his bed just staring at the wall.
My God.
Poor guy.
It's actually really sad.
Yeah. But funny in
But
that
funny
moment.
as well.
Thank you both so much, and I will see you both in Japan.
See you in
Oh, amazing.
Japan.
See
Oh, I
you
love
there.
it. So many people are coming to Japan. It's great.